smartest person in the world was suspected to have ADHD. Albert Einstein was suspected to have ADHD and autism. There's plenty of CEOs and celebrities and employees that have ADHD. Simone Biles, Justin Timberlake. If you ever want to prove an ADHDer wrong, you just tell them they can't do something and they'll prove you wrong.
I'm your host, Jason Raznick, founder of Benzinga, a leading platform in the financial world with the mission to level the playing field for individual investors. And this is the Raz Report podcast, where we share inspiring stories, expert advice, and exclusive perspectives to keep you ahead of the ever-changing world of investments and entrepreneurship. Let's dive into the show.
I must say, I am super excited for this edition of the Raz Report. You guys are all going to learn something. And you know what? I'm going to learn a lot. So maybe that's why I'm super excited. Maybe it's a little selfish, but it's okay. This is Brooke Schnittman. She is an expert at ADHD management. She has coaching with Brooke, where it's her company. She has different programs. She helps adults master living with ADHD. Did I do a good job on that?
You did it perfect. Gold star.
So before we get into like how you're helping adults, tell us a little bit about your journey, like with ADHD. Did you have it as a child? Like, just give us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've been in the business for 20 years of ADHD. I didn't know until 5 years ago that I had ADHD. So I was a special education. Yeah, right. I was a special education teacher working primarily with ADHD and learning disabilities and anxiety. Then I was an administrator for 4 years, and I just didn't see myself in the students for whatever reason. I think I was just so like laser focused on my work. And I was diagnosed with anxiety, diagnosed with auditory processing disorder growing up, got speech tested out because they only said I needed help with multi-step directions, which, okay, maybe that's my ADHD and my working memory. But it wasn't until I became an ADHD coach, started my company, 6 months into it, I started working with adults online and saw myself in them. I had a hard time after focusing on the session, which I loved, writing my notes for the session and then coming back, shifting my focus. So I started putting the pieces together at that point, self-diagnosed, then confirmed the diagnosis. And since then, I have met my husband, who had undiagnosed ADHD at the time, and his 2 sons, who also had undiagnosed ADHD. So we're a big ADHD family.
When you say they had undiagnosed ADHD, like, was your husband successful in life when you met him before that?
He was.
He was. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
I have my question, I guess, is undiagnosed ADHD. So he was living a successful life with undiagnosed ADHD. So then once you diagnose it, I guess I'm going to ask 2 questions. You diagnosed it based on what? And then once you diagnose it, what changed positively in his life?
Yeah, so I can't obviously diagnose because I'm a coach. You need a medical professional for that, but I suspected he did have it. And then a psychiatrist confirmed it for him. What I noticed in him, he would hyper focus on something for a very long period of time. And that's what made him successful in his real estate journey. Before that, he was a pilot. So he had to pay attention to detail, which ADHDers are typically not a strength of, paying attention to details. But he was so energized and hyper focused on his real estate business that he was doing really well. But I realized it was like this all or nothing mentality with him. He was hyper focused or not hyper focused. So there was no like middle ground really. And he was hyperactive externally and internally, racing thoughts, couldn't sit still. Attention span was either really attentive or short attentive span. Fidgety. So I noticed that. He also, my stepson, who's 10 years old now, was hyperactive, literally bouncing off walls. My other stepson was inattentive, where you had to say his name first before you could get his attention. He would be in his own daydreaming land. So their diagnoses were confirmed by GP. And what's changed for my husband is
GP. What's GP?
General practitioner, their doctor. Yeah.
Thank you. Anytime someone says abbreviation, I always question.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. it's important to get lay's terms. So yeah, my husband, he went on to Adderall. He also received some ADHD coaching from my company, and just started becoming more aware of how it shows up for him in business and in life and in our relationship. And I think that awareness was key. The medication was key. The tools from coaching was key. And I think he's just been more consistent in setting, a well-rounded lifestyle.
Does he take like Adderall every day?
Yeah, he does.
Does he like taking it, the feeling that he had now before not taking it at all?
So before taking Adderall, he would have like 6 cups of coffee a day, maybe more. So he was taking stimulants by drinking a lot of excessive coffee. So now his coffee intake has gone down. He takes Adderall twice a day, and that has helped him put his words together a little bit better, connect the synapses in his brain where he can find his words. He's able to be more focused on the things that aren't as enjoyable for him. And he has a newfound confidence, to be honest.
Okay. So now that's helpful. I wanted to hear because when you hit successful in life, because sometimes you're already successful in life, not taking medicine, not getting coaching, and now you're like taking it. What's changed? But you're giving the positives is more, just more synthesis, more. I mean, probably doing doing better at what he was already doing, but also more focused on details. I would say, does that help when he has to focus on it, or not really?
I think it's more of the bigger picture with putting all of the pieces together. So yeah, if you want to call that details, like how is my ADHD impacting my relationship with my kids, with my friends, with my wife, in business. So just having that awareness first. That wasn't medication that gave him that awareness. It was surrounding himself with people who have ADHD, who know about ADHD. It was, having a sort of community in his family and also in my company with ADHD. But the medication helped him then be more confident in conversations, in, carrying out tasks that are not as exciting.
Got it. Okay, so we're with Brooke Schnittman. She has a program, Coaching with Brooke. It's her company, ADHD Management, and we're going to get into a very exciting portion in a minute. But your journey in middle school, high school, you weren't diagnosed with ADD medicine. You weren't taking Ritalin.
Mm-mm.
Did you go to college?
I did. I went undergrad Penn State for general education, then immediately got my master's at NYU for special education. And then, of course, didn't stop there because we're lifelong learners with ADHD. So I started, yeah, right?
No, but go ahead. You started what?
So I started special education teaching, and then I got tapped on the shoulder to become an administrator. So then I immediately went for administration. And then after that, I took more classes in math. And from there, then I got all my coaching certifications in everything neurodivergence.
Okay. So I got to be more open to this. So you did very well. You went to Penn State, NYU, programs. You get tapped on the shoulder to be an administrative position. At this time, you weren't diagnosed with ADHD. You learned about ADHD through your journey with the students and other people you were talking to, right? Is that what you said earlier?
With coaching.
Yeah, with coaching. And then you saw part of yourself in them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now you're diagnosed with ADHD. Do you take Adderall?
I do. Yeah, I take I take a low dosed Adderall once a day.
Like a long acting, short acting?
No, short acting. So it's already worn off at this point, but I don't really notice it.
Okay. So you've been successful, you completed your grades, and so then you start noticing some symptoms that you have. When you notice those symptoms, and I know you have this coaching business, and that's why this is so terrific, because we're going to get to a fun thing in a minute. When you notice these symptoms and you notice, maybe I have this stuff, then you inquire, then you start taking medication, you start learning what you should do better. How has it changed your life knowing later in life, and it's not late in life, but you didn't know like when you were 10 years old. How has it changed your life now knowing that you have ADHD and now you know how to manage it, and now you know, and now there's medication also out there. How has that changed your life for the better versus if you never knew?
Yeah. So my journey is not the same as most people when they get diagnosed. Most people have a revelation and their whole life makes sense to them. For me, ironically, I received coaching for a year. It wasn't ADHD specific, and that was what did it for me. Executing tasks for the first time all the way through, understanding my strengths, my weaknesses, how I was showing up for people, being accountable to a group. After that, I then started the coaching, learned I had ADHD. But once I learned I had ADHD, it was kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. And I think my brain is not one that reflects immediately. It takes me a little while to process things. So I am still uncovering 5 or 6 years later, however long it's been, my ADHD and how it's manifesting and how, it's showing up in my relationships. It's showing up as a parent. It's showing up in my feelings towards myself, towards other people. It shows up. So taking the medication helped me get a jump start to my morning. It helped me get focused on the things that I already knew I needed to be focused on. It helped me sustain attention on things that I didn't really want to sustain attention on. It gave me a little bit more confidence. Like my husband, it also helped me find words and things. But becoming a stepmom, becoming a mom, all of those pieces that are coming together now, I'm noticing ADHD symptoms coming up and showing differently as my life develops, which happens in everyone's life. As a child, you may exhibit hyperactivity externally as a child. And then when you're older, you might have difficulty managing your taxes, managing your household management. So it shows up differently. So to answer your question in a very roundabout way, I'm still discovering what ADHD looks like for me.
No, it's very interesting what you just said. So many profound things. Like you mentioned, as a child, it may show up as just hyperactive around you, but as an adult, it may manifest in not managing typical household chores, like paying rent or taxes or getting the trash compactor fixed. And I see that in other people I know who I know took Ritalin growing up and don't take anything now. And I just get mad, like, hey, why don't you write a list and mark it down, right? Not to say that I'm
not that easy, right?
You're giving me some insight that I wasn't thinking about before, to be honest. So now here is the thing where I thought maybe it could be a little fun. So when I was in, first, second grade, I was told that I taped myself to my chair so I would sit still, because I was kid taking Ritalin probably at 10 years old and throughout my life. Doesn't mean I take it every day. I didn't necessarily take it on weekends, but throughout my life. When I was in high school, I didn't like how Ritalin made me feel at lunch because I think I'm a decently funny and jovial guy and like to be, just make people laugh, right? And at lunch when I had Ritalin in me,
it made you
numb. Quiet, numb, yeah, and numb, and just want to focus and like people doing silly things. I was like angry at, you know what I mean? It's like I get angry when people back into parking spots. Now I'm getting used to it because it's becoming a thing. I read an article about it, and so anyway, so it's a thing about backing into parking spots. In some areas it makes a lot of sense too. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of times it doesn't, and then it just drives me whatever. But now I'm getting over that one.
Yeah.
So,
well, the medication could give you adverse effects too. It could give you like the agitation. It could make you very serious and lose that
anxiety.
Part of your personality. It could give you anxiety. You can get depressed.
Yes, all of that. Well, so my question to you is, I have never gotten ADHD coaching. Okay. So you have this coaching with Brooke. Is that your website?
That's
coaching
correct.
with Brooke. Check out coachingwithbrooke.com. I'm just hoping it's .com. If it's not, then punch me in the head.
It is.
Guys, show it in the B-roll so people can see it right now and click around. Thank you. All right. So what would you do with me?
Well, that's a very good question. What wouldn't I do with you? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. No, exactly. I know that's a weird question because
really
you don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know, right? Exactly. So I
have a problem. Can I tell you my problems first?
Interrupting.
Yep, that's one. Go ahead. You ask.
No,
you
no,
won.
no.
I agree. No, you go. I'm done. You're right.
Interrupt too.
No, I interrupted you, Miss. Yeah, I interrupted you. I
Okay.
need teeth as white as you. What toothpaste is that? Like, I need teeth as white as you. This is crazy.
Crest 3D whitening. Thank you. And the Zoom filters are fantastic, even though we're not on Zoom. But I think that the computer filter helps as well. You're writing it down so you don't forget.
Yeah, I'm getting that toothpaste. Unless you had like surgery on them. Like, I don't know. Okay.
I did not. Well, I just want to say something very funny. So I have, and this is part of my ADHD, I have gotten through like whitening stuff for my teeth, but I have not used it and it's expired, right? And then I even donated
it's not
money
expired.
to
I don't believe in that.
I donated money to a charity, won a teeth whitening package, went to the dentist, they put a fitting, and again, it expired, the stuff. So yeah, that's part of my ADHD.
That's what happens with my glasses prescription. I get the prescription, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go take my friend Aaron to come pick out some cool glasses for me. And Aaron and I just never go. And yeah, that's another
yeah.
thing, so.
Other things come up. So what would I do with you, Jason? The question is, what do you feel you at this point want to set goals on? What do you need awareness on? What do you need help on? So some people with ADHD don't know what they don't know, like you said. But what I would do is have you evaluate all the different areas of your life. So I've mentioned relationships, health and fitness, business, household management, friendships, spirituality, all of those things, and see on a scale from 1 to 10 where you're at and where you want to be. If there's something pressing that's coming up right now that you have to work on, maybe you have another podcast that you're doing, or you have another company that you want to start, I can help you fill in the steps with the way that your brain works to get to the ultimate vision. It might not be linearly, but we'll get there with accountability and with tools and systems that you already have intrinsically, but the ones that work for your brain and motivate you.
Got it. Yeah. So it's taken more of a holistic view where I was going more micro, because where I was going to go with was this. Say there's like one thing I know I need to do, mm-hmm. and it's not even hard. Say if it's like, I need to send an email to Aaron Bree with a proposal for his podcast, right? Mm-hmm. I have it mostly done. It's 85% done, 90% done. It's going to take me 3 minutes to finish it. Instead of finishing it, I go do the text messages. I go do other things that I say, oh, I need to do those too. It's the same, and then the Aaron Bree podcast it'll be tomorrow. I won't do it. The next day I won't do it. I'll keep finding other things. Oh, yeah, it's because I can't do it yet because I have these other priorities. Whereas like, the biggest thing I would want to change, I mean, there's a lot of things I want to change in my life, but one of the things I want to change in my life is like finish what I'm on, then go to the next thing versus like having 10 open things. And I think maybe subconsciously I like having the 10 open things because then I deem myself more important, that like, oh, I have all these things I need to do. I'm so cool. I don't know what it is, but it's something that's plagued me for a while. Like I'll eventually do it, but if I would have just did it the first time, I don't know how to change that. And it's just very, very aggravating.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. Most ADHDers do 95% of the task, and then they have this perfectionism quality because of rejection and negative messages that they've received as a child. You said you literally taped yourself to a chair as a child. By the age of 10, people with ADHD are receiving 20,000 more negative messages than neurotypicals. So you might be done in your proposal, but you might be putting too much attachment to it because you're afraid of the outcome. So as a coach, we would look at that. And yeah, we can go micro. We have the big agenda and we have the smaller agenda week by week. And we would say like, what is done? And moving forward, can we create what is done before you even start the proposal? So this way you don't get to that 95 or 90 or 85% and say, I don't know what to do, right?
Or what do you mean that last part? What do you mean that last part? You said, can we see what's done before doing the proposal? What do you mean that last part?
Meaning like next time you have a proposal or next time you have a thing that you need to do before getting started. And this is the metacognition part that is very often a deficit for people with ADHD because they have executive dysfunction, and that's part of your executive functions. What you would do is stop yourself with the help of a mentor or coach or a friend or whatever, and say, okay, before I even start a proposal, what does done look like? So I know when I get there, I press send rather than getting to quote unquote 85, 90% and having it sit there. I just want to say one more thing related to your 10 tabs open too. We're constantly seeking dopamine. We have a dopamine seeking brain because we have a deficit of dopamine and we have an overabundance of dopamine. So your 10 tabs that are open, that can feel really good when you're like, your head is up to the deadline. And then it increases your dopamine, even though it's a negative thought, thinking, oh my God, I have to get all these 10 things done. And it's a challenge for you. And ADHDers love challenges and they love doing things last minute because that increases the dopamine. So that is working with your brain, believe it or not. It's just not sustainable every day.
Yeah, like there's a thing. So we have this NFL draft event, and it's on Thursday, and I know say several celebrities or mini celebrities, right? And I was supposed to text one of them on Wednesday of last week, and I didn't text them until yesterday. And the person says, "I thought you already texted the guy. Is that your follow-up?" I'm like, "No, I never sent that." I made an excuse why I didn't send it, and really it was a short. You have to keep these texts short. It's like, "Hey, you're in the area. Can you come in for 5 minutes?" Whatever, right? And I procrastinate on it. And when I think about why I procrastinate on it, you said something earlier about that fear of rejection or the negative comments I may have received when I was young. I mean, I was the guy, in elementary school, I would pick the number of people that were going to read the book in front of me, and I'd be in the bathroom by the time it was my turn, so I'd have to read in front of the class. And so the negative, I gave a TEDx talk about a LRC teacher saying I'll never be able to read way back when.
Oh.
And it was, I told my parents I'll never be able to read. She goes, I don't think I'll ever be able to read.
That's terrible.
And then, yeah, she told my mom that for real. And I got a 4.0 in high school, not every semester, but
congratulations.
Anyway, oh, thank you. But anyways, what I was going to say is, so like that little text to this guy, Big Sean is his name. I procrastinated for like a week. And I just, when I say procrastinated, I would find other things to do, like to not do it. And and if I had, I hate saying the words, but if I had to think about what you're saying, maybe it was the fear of rejection, because maybe he's likely going to tell me no. I don't know. And that's what is probably one of my, that's a bad trait that I have.
Listen, I just had a whole talk on my podcast, and I would love to have you on as well, about procrastination with ADHD. Some procrastination is not bad. In this specific situation, though, the other things that you did are likely because they were easier to you. They might have been taking longer, but you knew how to do them and you had an expected result because you've done it before. And you're right. Big Sean, you had no idea how he was going to respond. You didn't know how to word the text, maybe. You didn't, there was so many things. And your LRC teacher telling your mom that that you'll never graduate and you'll never read, that's like Teflon. You don't forget those things. They get encoded in the prefrontal cortex of your brain, much more so than the positive memories that you have. So shame on your teacher for saying that, and amazing resilience on your part, because if you ever want to prove an ADHDer wrong, you just tell them they can't do something and they'll prove you wrong.
Yeah, I like to be told I can't, and then I will prove them wrong. Whereas some people like to be told they could. I thought everyone liked to be told they couldn't, because, I started this company in my basement. We sold the majority interest to private equity for a 9-digit deal in end of 2021. It was on Squawk Box and stuff, CNBC. And, when I started it, my old boss said, just said there's no way you could go do this, right? And so that kind of motivated me. But then there's a next stage where I want to see the people here do amazing. And then I struggle with letting them down when not emailing Big Sean. But then how to motivate others that may not have ADHD, but maybe they do. I don't know. But how, like from the leadership perspective, I think there's like I wrote down what you just wrote, what you just said. One of the reasons that we talk about procrastination, you said, I may have done other things because I have an expected result because I've done it before, versus the email to Big Sean or the text to Big Sean. It's random. Like if I know I text Aaron about, something with the podcast, I know he's going to respond back, and there's no question mark. There's no angst. There's no anxiety. There's no him saying no. There's no nothing. So it's easy for me to text Aaron. But for me to write to Big Sean, there's the chance I'm going to get a big no or get no response. So hence maybe I just wait to do that. And it's dumb, but that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. There's the fear of rejection. And it also, with texting, that there's so many layers of texting, because it's not just sending the text. It's then receiving a response or no response. And then you have to text back. So it's really never done truly with the text. It's very open-ended. And with executive functioning issues, that is ADHD, we have executive dysfunction, going back and forth and remembering all the small things we often forget. So that's just another thing. If we can't offload it right away, and we have the fear of the rejection from the lack of response or the response of no, then both of those like pile up, and you just don't send the text.
Okay. Yeah. And exactly. Then you just don't send the text, and then you're even worse off. So coaching with Brooke, if people are listening, I know I was specific to my scenario, but what would you suggest when you work with people, or what adults with ADHD could learn if they join coaching with Brooke, just in general? And then, they can inquire for more info, coachingwithbrooke.com.
Thank you. It starts with awareness. So if you're seeking more awareness about how to live with your ADHD brain and thrive with your strengths and lessen some of the chaos that comes along with it, the negative messages, the unanswered texts, the household management, the changing jobs every 2 to 3 years, whatever it is, not finishing things. We dig into that awareness in the first month of coaching, and also create small positive actions and changes week after week, habit stacking. From there, then we can get more into the productivity, the organization, the procrastination, the prioritization, once you know how your brain operates. Once you can do something each week over an extended period of time, your confidence goes up. If you know how to live with your brain, you are actually executing on things that you're setting intention to do, your confidence goes up, and then you could learn how to offload, how to delegate, how to say no to things, how to have those uncomfortable conversations you've been avoiding, for stretching your goals. So, and doing it in a way that works for you. Not just hyper focusing on the thing and forgetting about the rest of your life, but doing it in a way where, like you said, it's more holistic and it's a life of intention. And then people become empowered. So that's our goal at Coaching with Brooke.
And I think, Brooke, I think some of the most successful people in this world have ADHD. I know Michael Rubin from Fanatics, but there's millions of people that,
oh my God,
there's a whole list, like John Chambers.
Yeah, the smartest person in the world was suspected to have ADHD. Albert Einstein was suspected to have ADHD and autism. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's plenty of CEOs and celebrities and employees that have ADHD. Simone Biles, Justin Timberlake. We can go on and on.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, we got to do more with you. I mean, do you ever write columns?
I do.
Yeah, we got to figure out a Benzinga, because we have like 10 to 25 million readers a month on different parts of our site.
That's too small for me. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we'll go for the 100 million. Add some zeros. I know you did win Best Life Coach of Boca Raton.
I did. Thank you. And Best of Florida. And
no, I didn't know.
Whatever. No, I'm just we're just going
to. Just Boca Raton. Just got it right.
Just Boca Raton.
Is this your married name now?
No, that's my maiden name.
Okay, so did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You did.
Okay. I mean, I pronounced like it sounded, Schnittman, but it's not a common last name. Schnittman.
It's not. It was changed, when my ancestors came over. It used to be Borofsky. Yeah,
Yeah, I figured it, but I just, it's one that I could have effed up, but I didn't.
No, you did not. So talk about reading and pronunciation. Speaking of effing up, now
that's
you have
a
big finger.
No, that's a problem because I notice shit all the time. And like when people write emails, and I actually had an email wrong yesterday, but I notice stuff all the time. And I want people to tell me when I make mistakes, but
that's huge.
There's some fear of feedback. Go ahead. What's
There's a fear of feedback that people who work for you or work with you, let's say, might have in giving you feedback, right?
I don't know how to change that. I've tried.
So maybe catch yourself making a mistake and sharing that with your employees.
Like a few years ago, I only did it once. I cracked an egg on my forehead. Say egg on my face. I haven't done that in a while.
You egged yourself.
I egged myself. I found the video recently. I saw the video recently. But you're right. I should probably reward for people giving me mistakes that I make, which I know are tons. And the same two people send me the feedback of me making mistakes. Not like I'm talking about just emails specifically, not other stuff right now, but the same one or two people. And I believe companies should be a place where anyone can be empowered to achieve more than they ever thought they could achieve on their own. I know I have a ton of weaknesses, like those details you talked about and following through with stuff. And then I know there's people that have all those strengths. And I wish people were I wish we could all be better with receiving feedback. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it by any means, right? I probably get defensive and then I need to catch myself, right? I need to catch myself. There's a lot to figure out in coaching. You're coaching with Brooke. I would argue that getting coaching from you, even if you don't have ADHD, would be helpful, right?
Yeah, I've coached people who are like Fortune 500 CEOs who don't have ADHD, who just need help on managing their businesses.
So do you work with a lot of companies at all?
Yeah, I do. I actually did a big talk with IBM Global this morning, and I've done Chopra Global. But yes, I work with companies as well.
Yeah, maybe for like team members, I don't know. I think there's something there. So I know we went over, but I want to get more from Brooke Schnittman. We're going to try to get a column or article on her, top tips. Telemarketers calling me. I got to turn this watch off. I have the phone away from me. I don't even know how the watch is ringing, but it is. It says telemarketer. I'm new to the Apple Watch.
I get it. I hate my Apple Watch for that reason. The amount of we get thousands of distractions a day, ADHD or not, right? So how do we manage all of them? It's tough.
Yeah, and the problem is I say write everything down, but the ideas come in mind, the ideas are, and then you forget.
It's a balance, Jason. You're running a big corporation and you are a visionary and you're very successful. So you're constantly spinning in like, what's the next thing? And you're managing a lot. So it's how do you be proactive and slow yourself down too, while also keep going.
And then you get anxiety and depression.
Yes.
Things don't go right, or you feel like you're not doing anything. And that's a whole nother animal, but
ADHD is complex.
That'll be for episode 2, I guess, Brooke. Coaching with Brooke. Do you have a podcast?
I do. It's called Successful with 2 L's. So you're full. Successful with ADHD. And I would love to have you on, Jason.
With 2 L's because you're like full. That's how you get it.
Correct.
So you know what this reminds me of?
What?
So Warren Buffett's last name. Okay. I'm not going to ask you and put you on the spot, but do you know who Warren Buffett is?
Of course. He's
the
most.
Okay, but
everyone comes to him with stocks and.
But
yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to spell his last name, but 70% of the people I ask to spell his last name spell it wrong.
Buffett? Oh no. Uh-oh.
I told you I wouldn't ask you. But the reason I brought it up is because you said successful, like full, F-U-L-L. So B-U-F-F-E-T is buffet, like Chinese buffet. And the reason I'm bringing this to you is with 2 T's is Buffett, like Jimmy Buffett, Warren Buffett. But the reason I bring it to you is because you have successful 2 L's. So no one says, hey, why'd you do 2 L's? You said full. And Warren Buffett needs another T because he's a billionaire. That's the way to remember it. Dan Gilbert, Rocket Mortgage, Cavs owner. That's how he told me to remember it. Buffett needs an extra T because he's a billionaire. He had it spelled wrong too in his presentation, and he's like Mr. Spelling. So everyone gets it wrong. But it's, I don't know why that one bothers me. But if you Googled it with one T, you'll see it in the New York Times anywhere with one T. I mean, because I guess it makes. I know. But
we're not perfect.
You have success. By the way, I'm sure I got it wrong the first time, right? Or second time. But then because
I'm
ADHD,
saying like we put so much pressure on ourselves more so than other people. It's interesting.
That's true. That's true because, and it reminded me like the thing that you mentioned, the frontal cortex, like the not being told I'll be able to read, and like like running out of the room when it was my turn to read. That stays with you, and and that's good feedback. That when dealing with people, you should think about the stuff that may have affected them prior to being a team member here.
Amen.
Okay, we are with Brooke Schnittman. Check out Coaching with Brooke. We're gonna get some advice and tips from her. If you don't have coaching, I suggest you get a coach. It can't hurt you. It can only help you. And what we do is we bottle up emotions, and it gets worse and worse. And then you go down an abyss. Talk to someone, get help, because we live one life that I know of. I guess that I know of. We live one life, and might as well live it with greatness and passion and fun. And I think someone like Brooke Schnittman and other coaches can help. So thank you, Coaching with Brooke. Brooke, for coming on the Raz Report. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.